Distortion 2 is one of the greatest Souls speedrunners to do it. The game was hard enough, even as a casual playthrough. But on July 19th, the GOAT himself announced a $10,000 bounty for beating all Remembrance bosses in the DLC at Ruin Level 1. This meant no leveling up, and on top of that, you could only upgrade your Scadu Blessing once per boss defeated.
Luckily, I've been doing very well from streaming, and I want to give back to the community and stuff. It's a $10,000 speedrun competition. Any donations made during the course of the bounty will go towards the prize pool.
This would ignite a spark in the community to band together and do whatever it takes to go fast, even if it meant breaking the game.
So you can fall off of a cliff and cast a Golden Vow, and you will keep falling. Stuff is gonna start dying eventually, I'm pretty sure. Oh, there we go. Stuff's dying. I got some souls. Enemy felled. Oh, we killed a lot. Ooh. Ah, nice.
Distortion knew the rule set was tough, so he gave runners a couple goodies in the bounty save file. Aside from that, they had to find everything else inside the DLC. And even though he wasn't going to officially compete in his own bounty, Distortion dove right into a run without a route, prep, or any real plan at all.
Am I gonna run it now? I'm going to do a run of it, but it's going to be scuffed as fuck, and I'm gonna die a lot.
After everything was all said and done, he completed the first run of the bounty in 4 hours, 48 minutes, and 7 seconds. Distortion wanted to prove, especially to his chat, it wasn't impossible. The biggest game changer were these two buffs included in the save, Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength. He specifically gave us a ton of Ruin Arcs to be used with Godric's Great Ruin. That and a handful of talismans, and we could cast these incantations for a nice little pre-buff boss routine. The route started with grabbing the Anvil Hammer. Even though there was a bit of walking to yoink it, this weapon is a no-brainer, since 5 of the 11 bosses have either neutral resistances or are weak to fire. While he was at it, Distortion made sure to grab the, pardon my French here, main gouge, since it makes fighting Rolana and the Promised Consort easy mode. Pairing will always be the fastest and safest way to beat those rats. With safety in mind and being the top priority, he thought the deflect tier would be a good choice, even though it took 1,000 years to get. Some cool tech that runners already knew about was the belly rat skip. It's kind of disjointed from the rest of the map, so going there just to fight the lion was pretty slow, unless you did this. Runners could hop on this railing and parkour down to an elevator. Normally, all it leads to is a chest, but if you hop down this hidey hole, you could respawn at a statue of Marika and run straight to the lion. Now imagine this. You defeat 11 Remembrance bosses, plus Bale. You get through Leda and her fellow rats. Woo! You're fighting the biggest rat of them all, the Promised Consort. Your blood is pumping, your heart is racing, you are on world record pace. All you need to do is clutch it up for the $10,000 dues. You make it to the final slivers of HP and he uses his meteor attack. Well, runners got rid of all that pressure thanks to this one forbidden jutsu. So yeah, if you jump 3 times as his light particle fades, his targeting system goes out of whack and he kind of just zips back to you. And so despite not having a plan, everything flowed pretty well. That is, except for some boring running sections. I'm talking about the long ride to the putrescent night, doing the entire Finger Quest saga, and not to mention the goddamn Abyssal Woods. Distortion set the stage, so let's see how things shake out from here. On July 22nd, the first run was submitted. A French streamer by the name of Chemist clocked in at 2 hours, 46 minutes, and 11 seconds.
Ta-da! Pew! Damn! Voila!
This run had over 40 deaths. The routing still wasn't perfect, and of course, unoptimized movement, but it still blew Distortion's run out of the water. Chemist also decided to open with the Anvil Hammer, but after watching Leda and Hornsent duke it out, his main bread and butter became the Falx. It was clear that Rolana was his biggest hurdle. He died 15 times to her, and most of these attempts were under 15%, so they were massive time sinks. Only a day later, Chemist was on the verge of getting a sub 2-hour run. All he had to do was clutch up on the Promised Consort.
Oh, my bad. Oh no!
Despite dropping the ball, he still had a massive improvement at 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 54 seconds. Like a true champ, Chemist didn't let this get him down, and on his next stream, he did it.
Voila! Let's go! Sub 2! Let's go!
He was able to whip out a 157.23. Of course, his pathing and movement was getting cleaner, but the biggest thing was getting his death count from 40 down to 16. It's wild that in just 3 days, a runner was able to get this fast. But Chemist wasn't done yet.
Yeah. Let's go! Let's go! Sub 15! Sheesh. Let's go! Woo! Yeah! Sheesh.
His record-breaking streak would continue with a massive improvement, netting himself a 148.15. The craziest part of this route was that his bail took only 60 seconds. It skipped phase 2 entirely.
Arrêtez ma BD. C'est chaud. J'ai gagné en fait.
The first 5 days of the bounty went absolutely uncontested. Chemist was the undisputed king.
Et voilà! Boom!
While the other runners were trying to catch up to the king, a major breakthrough happened on July 25th, the potential discovery of an Abyssal Woods skip. You might remember I mentioned the Abyssal Woods was a snooze fest of a segment. Runners could wrong warp to the ruins of Unts. You couldn't warp to and from anywhere all willy-nilly. Certain map chunks would load you to specific areas. Once you stood in a particular spot, fast travel to the Hippo Grace, quit the game, and load back in, wham bam, you'd be warped. It saved them some time, but it took nearly 4 minutes just to get to the Darklight Catacombs from there. You'd think a boss segment would break up the monotony, but even Jory was just a backstab cutscene. Now, once you were in the woods themselves, you still had to run all the way to Midra's Manse and clear it, which took another whopping 10 minutes. A grand total of 14 minutes spent running around just to fight Midra for 70 seconds was insane. So the idea of an Abyssal Woods skip is a speedrunner's wet dream. It would even consume Distortion's very own soul. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Unfortunately, the skip as it wasn't run viable. The entire setup would take way more time than it would save.
It also takes 45 minutes in its current iteration.
So obviously not worth it. Runners would need to get the one and only imbued sword key in the entire DLC, inside Castle Ensis. Not too bad. They would then have to make their way to the teleporter behind the castle. And when you use the key on it, the game puts you in the stoned state. Now, devs expected the player to use the Waygate immediately after becoming stoned. But what if instead you summoned Torrent, and as you were summoning Torrent, within a 2-frame window, you cancelled it by resting at a grace?
There we go! We're doing it! So the thing is, I can't change direction, chat. I can only run in a straight line, which is very cursed. You can change direction with bow. Oh, okay.
Other than having to find a bow en route to use with the skip, you had to stay stoned the entire time. This means you couldn't go through any low doors or die. So the best route to take, the safest route to take, would involve even more running than before. This discovery would mean nothing if runners couldn't find a safe place to fall through all the kill boxes above the Abyssal Woods. So Distortion spent hours falling and falling into the abyss until this happened.
Going down.
Finally, on July 27th, Chemist's reign was brought to an end by the one, the only Spicy. He had a time of 139.50, our first sub 140.
Oh my god, that RNG was so bad. I thought I was dead in that fight like 3 times.
Spicy only had 10 deaths. In his route, it was wildly different. This route revolved around a weapon relay, and first up was the Great Katana. It only took about 45 seconds to grab from the 3 Paths Grace, and was 100% free. Right off rip, another difference in the route was performing the backwards hippo. Spicy did the Bonnie Village skip. From here, he made his way to the Church District. making sure to touch key graces along the way. Since he was in the heart of the Shadowkeep, it was the perfect time to grab the Flame Spear, just before he unlocked Mesmer's Grace, once again for later. As I said before, fire is a must-have in this run, and it just so happens the Ash of War can go on the Great Katana. It just works. The backward hippo route finishes off by grabbing the main gouge, and just below it is an entrance to the hippo itself. It was darn fast and efficient, but the thing is, you had to beat the hippo in one try. If you died, it looks like devs didn't think you'd actually go this way, and so it's locked from here on out. You'd have to respawn and go all the way back around, a massive hit to your time. Spicy also decided to take on Rolana earlier. It was a risky fight, so might as well get it out of the way. Thankfully, every other parry she would get staggered, but she was a real hassle to read. Once you got her to the phase transition, it was pretty much scripted. And if he did win, her armor was great for survivability. Next up, he made his way to the Sunflower. Since the water was drained in the previous segment, it was easy enough to just pop into this little hidey hole and bam, there he goes. Of course, the Sunflower melts, and just like that, the next weapon in our relay is unlocked. The Sunflower was used on the Putrescent Knight to fully script the fight. Alongside the Opaline Bubble Tier, runners could trade a fully charged heavy attack with him. After queuing up another one, the PK is staggered. From there, you hit the crit, charge up another heavy attack, and he's staggered yet again, thanks to a poise bug. One more crit and one more heavy later, and it's easy money. Gaius gets bonked by the Sunflower next. With the Stone Barb Tier, he gets staggered every other heavy attack. Runners just need to react to his attacks and hope for decent RNG. Ramana gets the same treatment and staggers just as easily. Once again, runners just need to react and pray for good attack patterns. After all that high-octane action, it was time to do the Finger Quest saga. Some nice schmovement from the Dragon Communion Grace got Spicy to the ruins of Rhea. To get to the ruins of Deo, O Mother is needed, but that takes time to grab. So instead, he wrong warped. Coincidentally, the statue right next to Gaius' Grace can warp runners to the other side. Usually, this quest was done to fight Matir, but for now, she could wait. Spicy was after the Claws of Night. It was risky to fight, being level 1 and all, so instead he baited Anna, using this one simple trick. The claws were used to cut down Mesmer. There was no trick here, he just had to get good. Now, here's a clean version of the Bellurat skip. Spicy brought back the Great Katana for the Lion. And again, nothing special here, just avoid getting hit. But once he got to phase 2, it was lights out. He made his way to Midra. Gotta get through all the backstabs first. And the claws really did a number on the Lord of Frenzied Flame. But they melted Matir even harder. Bale was up next. Spicy made sure to grab the crafting materials to make the Dragon Communion Grease. With that buff and the impaling thrust on Gaius' lance, this made Bale look easy. Even though it went to a phase 2, it was even faster than Chemist. Of course, the promised concert was last, and Spicy used the frost from the line to edge out as much damage as possible. Sadly, this run was sent to the Shadow Realm. There were too many occasions where runners were quitting out to reset enemies, and Distortion thought this was pretty lame. Sure, it saved fractions of a second in game time and made the route easier, but it wasn't worth the years of loading over and over again in the real world. Another spell that was given in the save file was Unseen Form, and Distortion put it in there for a reason. He wanted people to use the good old noggin, and so quit outs were officially banned, which made all runs up to this point invalid. Meanwhile, Distortion was helping take the Abyssal Woods skip to the next level. Instead of getting stoned, runners found that you could use the new lulling branch instead, which meant you could do the flying glitch from anywhere. This new tech was called sleepwalking. The first issue was that the sleep effect took ages to proc. Distortion knew right away that the Lion's Helm was the answer.
Wait, oh my god. It's 3 ticks? That's actually insanely good.
The second problem was that it was a frame-perfect setup. The only hope of getting this glitch consistent was to buffer up a bunch of animations. This basically times the setup for you, just need to find the right combo.
We just keep trying stuff.
But that's way easier said than done. When it worked, it looked a little something like this. Chat was getting a little stir crazy. So, Distortion decided to show them the part where it's actually useful, but nothing changed there. If you threw yourself off this cliff and land in just the right spot, you could then respawn at a statue of Mariko. With that out of the way, it was time for more punching to get a consistent setup.
I mean, I feel like it does work way more often though here. That's the thing, right? It's just... Dude, I like how we've been sitting here for like hours and we've gone through like multiple day-night cycles.
And thanks to a little help from chat, Distortion started to cook.
Okay, this man is cooking with the fire perfume.
He knows sleepwalking worked when the skill is grayed out.
Oh my god, it just worked 2 times in a row with his main setup and his back.
Once again, the entire skip would fall flat unless Distortion found fast ways to get all the items required for this sleepwalking. And so to take a little break, he went on a little collectathon. There were a ton of sleep flowers just after beating the putrescent knight. Easy.
Look at all these flying materials, chat. So that's 6 of them right there, and then you need beast horns and dew gems.
Runners were already going through the specimen storehouse to get the flame spear and of course unlock Mesmer's Grace. With a little parkour, beast horns weren't far off.
You can go from here onto this hand. Oh yeah, they're literally right there.
The last item needed for the lulling branch were dew gems, and they were right next to the great katana. Another item en route.
Boom. 2 branches, easy clap.
Runners could yoink the carry-in thrusting shield before grabbing the beast horns. The shield is used to maintain an active animation, or else the sleepwalking will just end.
Yeah, this item right here is the thrusting shield, I believe. Don't know how you're gonna get this without dying. Maybe you just...
Finally, as part of the Skadu collection, the repeating crossbow can be found on the way to the Morth ruins. Runners needed this so that they could actually turn while they were sleepwalking, and they did so by rolling while it was equipped in the other hand. Now, back to punching.
There's some runners who like can't hit stable FPS, so I want to help. I want to help those runners out. That setup is close. Maybe on a different slightly different FPS. Hey, it worked. 30 FPS, 3rd try. Again, 30 FPS. Pause champ. Pause champ. Again. We just found a 30 FPS setup in like 5 minutes? I mean, it's fine if it doesn't work guaranteed. As long as it works in like a few tries, that's pretty good. Again, I don't know, it seems pretty good to me on 30. Brother punching air 3 days in a row. I don't want to fucking hear it.
After countless hours of fighting his inner demons, it was time to become more intimate with the mountains and find an even closer landing pad to Midra's Manse. Thanks to Distortion's diligence and his community's efforts, the perfect setup was finally found. To do sleepwalking at 100% consistency, runners capped their FPS at 34, and they got the fire perfume, which was en route early on as a part of the Skadu Collectathon. All it took was to craft and eat the Lulling Branch, wait for the first sleep proc, and immediately after, start buffering your kick, fire perfume, summon torrents, and there you go.
We might be cooking on 34. And that's 4 in a row. Oh my god, wait. Is 34 the god number? It has worked 7 times in a row? Okay, it is literally working every single time, and I'm scared that it's gonna stop working, but it keeps working. It keeps working! It keeps working! It's worked 9 times in a row on 34. I think we can finally do runs tomorrow, chat. Actually, I haven't fought a boss in 3 goddamn days. But
Now, back to speedrunning. Because of the quit out ban, the bounty went dark for a couple days. PBs were still being submitted, but it became that much harder to get a sub 2. Runners would have to either adjust their routes or find a better way to deal with these annoying sections. They adopted the kukri strat and used it anywhere they needed to squeeze on by. All they had to do was find a kukri drop en route, throw it at the wall when an enemy was nearby, and the goober would just stare at the wall, pulling the classic, must have been the wind. And after 2 days of silence, Spicy came so close to his old world record. While the runners were dealing with these learning pains, let's see what Distortion's up to. After 5 long days of punching the air and mastering the art of flying, the Abyssal Woods skip evolved into its final form. Sleepwalking saved runners about 7 minutes of fumbling through the catacombs, Abyssal Woods, and even Midra's Manse. And it was nothing less than beautiful. Runners found this sweet spot on the mountain, which led directly to the manse, and then you could do the impossible.
nice. Fall down this thing. Use your gravity thrust. Walk into this spot slowly. So you fall onto this ledge. So yeah, you jump around these corners, and then once you get to these books, you jump to the right. And here's our boy Midra, P1, who's going to notice us, thankfully. Through the wall. Obviously, you wouldn't one-shot him, but... And then, alright, you want to see what happens if you quit out inside the fight, chat? We're back out of bounds.
The only downside was that you had to beat Midra in 1 try, or now your run was over.
It's so crazy, man. Oh my god, who would have thought? What was it, like 5 days ago? We were sitting here being, oh, the Abyss skip is not even run viable, it's too slow, and now we're like saving 8 minutes doing the skip. Or like 10 minutes, I don't even know, it's so much time.
Sleepwalking was a decent learning curve, and with only 11 days left in the bounty, who would come out on top? On July 31st, our first sub 130 appeared. It was a time of 1:27:29, and it was set by Spicy.
Holy shit, my fucking heart at the end.
He died only 5 times. And the longest one was surprisingly to Sword Knight Anna.
Kidding me. This never fails. And of course, it's gonna fail on...
You may have noticed Chemist has gone silent. While he was in the goddamn hyperbolic time chamber, doing boss gauntlet after boss gauntlet, becoming an absolute beast. And on August 1st, his training pulled off, with a time of 1:25:29. And just like Spicy, he only had 4 deaths. Not only that, but he broke out the forbidden jutsu known as ladder storage. I can't explain exactly how it works, but basically you load the game and start back up at a certain point when you are at a ladder, and it saves a lot of time from doing parkour, but it involved a quit out. And if you remember, quit outs were banned. For some reason, Chemist thought this would be an okay glitch to use, and it just wasn't. With the wind taken out of Chemist's sails, Spicy could not be stopped.
I don't know what to do about let it, dude. I actually can't stand it. I actually can't stand it. I should have just AFK'd. I should have just stood there and let the taunt fight. I can't believe this is a mandatory fight in the game. Like, I actually just can't believe it.
Other runners were still 10 to 20 minutes behind. And on August 3rd, we got yet another world record, a 120.41. So close to a sub 120. And yep, you guessed it, this record belonged to Spicy.
Fuck, dude. I think I just mistimed the parry the first death. I actually couldn't feel my hands. I literally, my hands were literally numb from nerves. I could not feel my hands.
He died only once to the Promised Consort, and he used the final form of the Abyssal Woods skip. Any hope of beating Spicy required nothing less than perfection. Distortion was right all along. What he actually created was a no-death bounty.
I mean, I'm hoping that by the end, people will be getting like close to deathless. Hopefully.
In a bounty as hard as this, perfection was hard to come by. And so days went by and Spicy's world record went untouched. That is, until August 7th, with a massive record of a 1:17:38. There's only one person who could have pulled this off.
Let's fucking go! Holy shit, dude. Oh, my heart, man. I can't see chat. Oh. Oh.
This new time looked unbeatable, but runners didn't give up. On August 11th, the final day of the bounty, a new record was put up, a 1:17:05. Spicy was finally dethroned, claiming first. For the first time, all bounty was blanks.
Oh my god. Oh my god, let's go. Holy shit! That's it! That is it, baby! Holy! Sheesh! Oh my god! Oof.
Surprisingly, even though this was a world record, Blanks actually died to Rolana. Thankfully, it was early on. Not only that, his Radon RG was godlike. The fight took about 1 minute and 50 seconds. That made all the difference in the world. In previous world records, Radon would do some tomfoolery, stalling like a son of a gun using meteors, jumping around, light particles, but not in this one. In Phase 1, Radon only used melee, and 5 of the 8 attacks, Blanks was able to parry. Phase 2, Radon didn't stall at all. 8 out of 8 attacks were all parried. Blanks clutched up as the only controller runner. What a beast.
No way! Controller world record! Controller is better, confirmed! Oh my god! You guys were all here!
But you already know Spicy wouldn't take this lying down. With less than 12 hours left to compete, he had this insane run. And then it happened. Spicy's arch nemesis reared its ugly little head. Would the boulder incident be his downfall? Of course not. This is Spicy we're talking about. It took another 6 hours, but he toughed it out and got here. This was it. This had to be the run. Spicy was a whole minute and a half faster at this point. I think anyone else in their right mind would have lost all hope. Their mental would have been crushed, but not Spicy. He kept going, again and again. And another chance popped up, with just 2 hours left.
Baby! Holy shit! Holy! Let's fucking go, dude! Holy shit! Holy shit, 114, man. I can't believe it, dude. I actually can't believe it. I actually can't believe it, dude.